All right, let's talk about something that's going to ruin someone's trip this year. I guarantee it. Someone, probably a few someone's reading this right now, will walk up to an airline counter or a TSA checkpoint in the next few months with a perfectly packed bag, a perfectly printed boarding pass, and a perfectly planned itinerary, only to be stopped cold by a rule they didn't know changed. And it's not going to be a gentle reminder. It's going to be that hollow, sinking feeling of being told no when you're already stressed, already late, and already mentally on vacation. The worst part? These aren't secrets. The airlines and the government have published these changes. But let's be honest. Who reads the 47-page Conditions of Carriage update email? Who scrolls through the TSA's press release page for fun? You don't. I don't. We find out the hard way. Well, not today. Today we're going to rip off the Band-Aid and talk about every single surprise airline and airport rule change that has quietly slid into effect as we head into 2026. Some are nuanced shifts in policy. Others are massive, game-changing overhauls that completely alter how you book, pack, and fly. Ignore them at your own peril. So, let me ask you this right up front, and I genuinely want you to think about it. What's the most shocking or expensive rule surprise you've ever encountered at the airport? Was it a fee you never saw coming, an item you were forced to abandon, or a policy that seemed to change right before your eyes? Go ahead and share that story in the comments below. I read every single one, and your experience might just warn someone else. Because here's the thing. The travel industry banks on our assumption that what worked last year will work this year. They rely on that complacency. It's how they make billions in unexpected revenue. But after you hear what I'm about to tell you, you won't be compliant. You'll be prepared. And the person who doesn't get that sinking feeling at the counter, that's going to be you. Let's start where the journey begins, with your ticket. You click Purchase. You get a confirmation. You think it's a contract. It is, but it's a contract that tilts dramatically in the airline's favor. And the tilt just got steeper. The biggest shift you need to understand is the near-total erosion of the 24-hour cancellation grace period. For years, U.S. Department of Transportation rules mandated that if you booked a flight at least 7 days in advance, you could cancel it for a full refund within 24 hours of purchase. It was a consumer safety net. In 2026, that net has been frayed to almost nothing by airline ingenuity. While the DOT rule technically still exists, airlines have masterfully built a maze of fare classes and conditions that circumvent the spirit of it. The most common trick? Deeply discounted basic economy and new value saver. Fares now regularly carry a clause. 24-hour grace period does not apply to changes. Refunds issued as travel credit minus a $99 processing fee. Read that again. You can cancel, but you don't get your money back to your card. You get a credit, and they take $100 off the top for the privilege. That's not a grace period, that's a penalty box. I've seen people book a $150 fare, have a schedule conflict an hour later, cancel, and wind up with $51 in future flight credit that expires in a year. It's brutal. The way to fight this is to know the exact fare rules before you click Buy. Scroll past the big friendly price. Click the tiny Terms and Conditions link. If it says non-refundable to original form of payment, you do not have a true 24-hour refund window. You have a Hobson's choice. My advice? If you think there's any chance you'll need to cancel, book directly with the airline on a standard main cabin fare that still honors the old rule. The extra $40 up front could save you $140 later. But the ticket surprises don't end at purchase. Let's talk about check-in. The 45-minute domestic cutoff and 60-minute international cutoff. Those are ghosts. They're the official times, but the real cutoff, the one that gates your ability to check a bag, is now often 60 minutes for domestic and 90 minutes for international at major hub airports. Why? Because airport security lines are theoretically shorter with pre-check-in clear, but the baggage handling systems are overwhelmed. The airlines have quietly moved their bag drop deadline earlier, while the boarding pass deadline remains later. This creates a catastrophic trap. You can arrive at the airport 50 minutes before your domestic flight, breeze through security in 10 minutes, and sprint to the gate, only to be told you cannot check your bag. The gate agent will shrug and say you missed the baggage cutoff. Your options are: abandon your suitcase, they won't store it. Try to carry it on and hope the gate agents don't notice it's oversize. They will, or miss your flight. I've watched this happen at Atlanta, Denver, and Orlando more times than I can count. The rule isn't posted prominently, it's in the email confirmation you deleted. The new standard operating procedure is this: if you have a bag to check, be at the counter a full hour before departure for domestic, 2 hours for international. Not at the airport, at the counter, period. The old 2-hour rule for domestic is now the 1-hour rule for bag drop. Trust me on this. Now let's get to the gate itself, because the drama there has been upgraded. The overbooking saga has entered a new, more passive-aggressive phase. Airlines have gotten spookily good at predicting no-shows, so instead of the dramatic "we're looking for volunteers" scene, they're now preemptively reaccommodating people at the time of check-in. You'll go to check-in online 24 hours before and find your seat assignment gone, replaced with C agent. When you get to the airport, you're told the flight is oversold, and you've been moved to a later flight. No ask, just action. The key here is that your rights under DOT Regulation 250, the bumping rule, only kick in if you are denied boarding at the gate. If you voluntarily accept the reaccommodation at check-in, even if it's presented as your only option, you may forfeit your right to the significant cash compensation, often over $1,000 for a long delay. You must use very specific language. You say, "I do not voluntarily accept this change. I wish to travel on my originally scheduled flight. If you deny me boarding at the gate, I will expect denied boarding compensation as per DOT rules." This forces their hand. They will often magically find a seat. If they don't, you're in line for a big payday. Stay polite, but know your legal footing. Okay, deep breath. We're through ticketing and check-in. Now comes the main event, the security theater, which has gotten a new act. The TSA, in its endless quest to seem both thorough and efficient, has rolled out what they call dynamic security allocation at most major airports. Here's what that means for you. The lane you enter is no longer just pre-check or standard. Your boarding pass barcode is scanned at the entrance to the security hall, and an algorithm instantly assigns you to a lane based on a risk score that includes how far in advance you checked in, your fare class, your travel history, and even, though they deny this, how much you paid for your ticket. You might have pre-check printed on your pass, but if you booked a basic economy fare 12 hours before the flight, you could be routed to the enhanced lane, where every single item comes out of your bag, shoes, and belts come off regardless of age, and you're getting the full-body pat-down. I've seen platinum status flyers with pre-check ushered into the slow lane, while a first-time flyer in a suit on a full-fare ticket gets the express route. It's chaos. The only way to marginally improve your odds is to check in exactly 24 hours in advance, book a non-discounted fare, and ensure your traveler profile with the airline is complete. This system is designed to be opaque, to keep potential bad actors guessing. Unfortunately, it also keeps you guessing. Pack and dress with the assumption you might get the full treatment every time. That means no complicated shoes, no belts with massive buckles, and for the love of all that is holy, empty your pockets completely before you even get in line. I've watched more people set off the scanner because of a forgotten paperclip or a gum wrapper than because of actual metal. Speaking of packing, let's talk about the carry-on crackdown. This is the single most financially motivated change happening right now. The sizer at the gate is no longer a gentle suggestion. It is a revenue collection device, and the gate agents are now under strict quotas. Airlines are desperately trying to speed up boarding and reduce fuel costs by forcing more bags into the hold, and they've found the perfect pressure point: the final call. As boarding begins, a second agent stands at the mouth of the jet bridge with a sizer. If your bag looks even remotely bulky, you will be asked to test it. The sizers themselves have been subtly redesigned. They're the same external dimensions, but the interior is now a hard, unyielding shell with a 90-degree angled back. The old soft-sided sizers had a little give. You could wedge a bag in, not anymore. If it doesn't slide in with zero force, it fails. And here's the real kicker. If you are forced to gate check it, the fee is now double the standard checked bag fee, and it's charged immediately to your card. No more free gate checking of roller bags. They've closed that loophole. The only way to win is to not play. Your carry-on needs to be a soft-sided duffel or tote that is visibly, obviously smaller than the regulation size. A hard-shell roller, even a so-called regulation size one, is a target. It signals to the agent that you're pushing the limits. I've switched to a backpack that fits under my seat. It's less convenient, but I've watched people pay $150 to gate check a bag on a $200 flight. The math is insane. And while we're on bags, the TSA's liquid rule has finally, officially, mutated. The 311 rule, 3.4-ounce bottles, 1 quart-sized bag, 1 bag per passenger, is still the official line, but the enforcement has bifurcated. In standard lanes, they are now hyper-focused on the 1 bag part. You used to be able to have your toiletries in a bag and your snacks in another. Now, if you have 2 plastic bags in your carry-on, they will pull you aside and rummage through everything. They're looking for liquid volume spread across multiple containers. If you have 4 3-ounce bottles, but they're in 2 different bags, they might confiscate them, arguing you were attempting to circumvent the total volume limit. The safe play is 1 clear bag, period. put your non-liquid snacks loose in your luggage. However, in the new CT scanner lanes, the big beige machines that look like a CT scan, the rules are relaxing. At airports like JFK, Phoenix, and Atlanta that have these, you are often told you can leave liquids and laptops in your bag. But, and this is critical, this is not a universal rule. It is only for that specific lane with that specific technology. If you assume it's the new standard and pack your liquids loose in your suitcase, then get routed to a standard lane at your next airport, you will have a very bad day. Always pack as if you're going through the strictest possible checkpoint. Use the bag, consolidate. It's not worth the delay. Let's talk about something that feels like a small thing but has stranded more people than weather this past year: photo ID requirements. The Real ID deadline has been pushed back so many times it's a national joke. But in 2026, the joke is over. The TSA and airlines are no longer just warning. They are strictly enforcing the requirement that your ID be undamaged. A small bend, a crack in the laminate, a faded photo, these are now grounds for denial. I saw a man in Dallas turned away because the corner of his driver's license was slightly peeled up. He had a passport in his checked luggage. He missed his flight. The scanners that read IDs are more sensitive, and any damage can obscure the barcode or the security features. Furthermore, if your ID is expired, even by 1 day, it is invalid for air travel. The grace period you might get at a bar does not exist here. Your license must be currently valid. The advice is twofold. First, get a passport card as a backup. It's cheap, fits in your wallet, and is a federally issued Real ID. Second, if your primary license has any damage whatsoever, go get a replacement now. Don't wait. This is a 5-minute fix at the DMV that could save a $500 flight. Now, onto the plane itself. The in-flight environment has become a minefield of new monetization and rules. The most contentious is the quiet cabin initiative on certain red-eye and premium routes. This isn't just about turning off the PA system. Flight attendants are now empowered to issue written warnings to passengers for excessive conversation that disturbs others, with the threat of being banned from the airline for repeat offenses. I'm not talking about loud arguments. I'm talking about a normal volume chat between spouses. On these designated flights, which are marked with a quiet cabin symbol when you book, the expectation is sleep. If you want to talk, you whisper. It's a cultural shift enforced by policy, and it's catching a lot of social travelers off guard. Similarly, the use of personal electronic devices without headphones is now an instantly finable offense on most major carriers. Flight attendants carry card readers. If you play audio out loud after one warning, you can be charged a $250 disturbance fee on the spot. They will swipe your card. It's happened. The final and perhaps most important frontier is the aftermath. What happens when things go wrong? The rules around compensation for delays and cancellations have been tightened by the DOT, but the loopholes are still big enough to fly a 777 through. The key change is that airlines must now provide a cash refund, not a voucher, for any cancellation, regardless of the reason, if the passenger chooses not to be rebooked. That's huge. But the definition of cancellation is being fought over. A flight that's delayed 3 hours and then canceled? That's a cancellation. A flight that's delayed 6 hours and then operates? That's not a cancellation, and you have no right to a refund, only a later flight. The airlines are using rolling delays to avoid the cancellation trigger. They'll delay a flight in 1-hour increments for 6 hours, hoping you give up and go home, forfeiting your ticket. You must wait it out or proactively ask to be moved to a different routing. Don't leave the airport until you have a confirmed, written alternative or a refund processed to your card. Perhaps the most sinister change is in the fare class structure for rebooking. If your flight is canceled and you're rebooked on a different airline, an interline ticket, you are now almost always rebooked into the lowest fare class on that new airline. What does that mean? It means you are the absolute last priority for upgrades, for standby on earlier flights, and if the new flight is oversold, you are the first to be bumped. Your original ticket's value means nothing. You're a second-class citizen on your new carrier. The only way to mitigate this is to have status with an airline alliance, Star Alliance, SkyTeam, OneWorld. Your status can sometimes be used to secure a better fare class on the partner airline. If you're a free agent with no loyalty, you are at the mercy of the algorithm, and the algorithm is not your friend. We've covered a lot of ground here, from the moment you book to the moment you, hopefully, arrive. The through line is this: the balance of power has shifted even more decisively toward the airlines and the security apparatus. Their systems are more interconnected, more algorithmic, and less forgiving of human error or assumption. The golden rule of air travel in 2026 is this: Nothing from 2019 still applies. Your past experience is a liability if you assume it will protect you. You must be proactive, paranoid in your preparation, and crystal clear on your rights. Read the fine print. Arrive earlier. Pack lighter and more carefully. Have backup ID. Assume you'll get the full security treatment. And when you're told no, know exactly why they're saying it and what your recourse is. Travel is still an adventure, but the adventure now starts long before you reach your destination. It's a puzzle of policies and penalties. Solve it before you leave your house, and the journey might just be enjoyable. Forget one piece, and that sinking feeling at the counter will be your vacation's first memory. Don't let it be yours.